that's why you're going to choose a profession which is not going to, probably require you to stay late at night, or a lot of things. We make a lot of choices in our life depending on this safety. And the reason why this problem, in my opinion, is a bigger problem than it actually needs to be, is because we don't have each other's back. I think that we as women, as people who consider themselves decent, take absolutely no responsibility in making the city a better place. And in fact, we have a lot of responsibility in making it a less safer place, because we are validating the crimes, because we are not raising our voices against them, instead telling our women to behave themselves. And I think if each one of us had each other's back in all points of time, and just say no to the crap and actually accept the women the way they are, and stop telling them what to do all the time. Obviously, you have to keep them safe, but you don't keep them safe because they are women or because they're your women. You keep them safe because you're humans, right? And yeah, I think if we're looking for a change of attitude, we have to look into ourselves and change our small attitudes towards everything, and then we can probably look at policies and policemen and all that. Obviously, there's a lot of fault there, but it's not going to change unless we change ourselves. That's my opinion.
Karthik and Sunena have written down a few questions on security, which reflects the sad state of affairs, that they're not safe. And I don't think in the West, correct me if I'm wrong, we've seen that there are special coaches for women, and so supposedly we're getting more developed, but then the developed world doesn't have this. So what is your take on this, and is there a solution?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question, because I would like to tell a small anecdote here. There's a very popular blog post doing rounds these days about he entered the Delhi Metro at Rajiv Chowk. She was standing in the normal compartment, and she got a seat. This guy who was standing right next to her was almost leaning on her. Every moment he was, his arm was on her head. He was just trying his best to, just lean on her. The moment she told him that, kya kar rahe ho, kyun kar rahe ho sir? The first thing that guy said was that, ye coach aapka nahi, aap kahan pe jao? And then, she ignored him, put on her headphones, sat down, again she was fine. This kept on happening. So she got up and she shouted at that man, that aap kyun kar rahe ho? This is not right. He said the same thing again. This time some other guy, jumped in. He said, why are you, doing this to her? Let her sit wherever she wants. They started a fight between themselves, the two guys. Okay, her issue was completely ignored after that. So it became a fight of those two guys, their egos, because they obviously said certain cuss words to each other. माँ बहन की गाली दी तूने मेरे माँ को कैसे बोला? And it became an entire different issue altogether. And the interesting part, everybody in that coach started blaming the women for that fight. They all started saying कि ये क्या करा आपने? आपने करा ये, आपने करवाया ये. And they literally had to force her to enter the women's compartment and eventually get off the train at the next stop. Okay, she was so frustrated before moving out. The one person who said कि आपने किया, she said fuck you man, I did not do this, and she left the train. Right? So I think this has created an even bigger rift. The perception that people enter the normal compartment with is कि यार अगर यहाँ पे बैठी है, I have complete right to do whatever the fuck I want to do here, and she should be in the women's compartment. I think this has furthered the entire problem. There was a point when I used to feel good that there's a women compartment. I still do. I tell you why. Because I completely travel in metro. I never use car, nothing at all. I have seen this a lot of times, a million times. A woman is standing at the door. Her stop is about to come. Some guy creeps in behind her, trying to touch her in a very bad way. He's waiting for that moment when the train will stop. The push will come and he'll be able to touch her. So that's when I felt good that okay, they have a women's compartment. So it's a really critical issue that we're talking about here. Should we have a reserved compartment because something like this happens, or should we not have a reserved compartment because we want people to feel that we are all equal and we should give space to everybody?
Very provocative point that I'm sure you made and asked some of the men here. ये जो लड़ाई हुई सबवे में, the point that hasn't been mentioned here is that when a woman is harassed or disturbed in any way, there's a male perpetrator, but there's also other males who are watching that scenario. Now, sadly, let alone defending her, most of the time, or helping in some way, they either kind of walk away, or they continue, or they even join in. There's these stories because the conversation goes on. So when this guy is jumping in to defend her, it becomes like a fight between these two guys. So isn't this also a big issue that needs to be discussed? That And this Bombay Delhi point, by the way, I think that's a big difference, incidentally. That the men in Bombay, like something bad happens, it's like they're a little bit more, I think, where Delhi is a culture of jumping in. So there's a lot of men here as well. Do any of them have a view as to that aspect of,
You talked about equal opportunities being given to women, right? It's just not about equal opportunities. They should be given equal accessibility, equal resources, and ensure that they have equal outcome out of that. So we should aspire for substantive equality and not just be confined to protective equality. That's what we're talking right here. That's what I thought I should.
And in fact, to bring Vinny and location to the equation, one of the questions, to add to that, I would definitely agree with you that over many states that I've travelled in, only place where I did not get looked at was in Shillong. And it was so much fun roaming around the streets and just tension-free. So I don't know, I guess that's the situation in all the 7 states, and also what do you think about their situation in our cities here?
Well, whatever you said is true, but seeing some female also, they're like rowdies, suppose like a gang of 10 girls are sitting and you walk alone in front of them. After you cross them, you hear it giggle, you hear them giggling and all. So doesn't that mean even women tease men? Doesn't that mean? And another option is that there are some women who like to be teased. For example, I did my schooling here. We were traveling this thing. We were going on a tour, and there were 3 girls going in one scooty. And one of my friend who was sitting next to me on the window, he showed there's 3 girls. The middle girl blew up, and the girl she blew up like this. So doesn't that mean the women are something prone to all these things?
Let's say about Delhi NCR area, the safety of noise and so on was made. Over in Delhi, these people out here, they think the noticing those are very easy, so they can do whatever they want and get away easily. Because even if we approach the cops and everyone, we go approach the cops, see this has harassment happening there, and instead the cops they harass us. They say, "Who are you? What's your name? What do you do?" And I just want to ask how can you overcome this kind of thing? I want to ask everyone.
I guess when we're talking about safety and we're talking against violence, we are not embracing chastity. It's completely okay to flirt or any such thing. I mean, I'm sure if the girl responded in such a way, it was a perfectly, it was a light sort of a gesture which was exchanged. And unless someone feels threatened, I sense a certain judgment towards the response of that girl. So if someone tells me in some sort of a sign that, hey, you're pretty, am I supposed to file a police complaint against him? If I accept a compliment, even if I'm looking for a compliment, even if I'm dressed to attract sexual attention, that doesn't mean that I'm asking for violence. Yeah,
what I meant is girls are becoming broad-minded.
They were always broad-minded, just that the society never was.
To look attractive. Okay, everybody wants to look attractive. But so if a man can go to a gym, do some muscle training, flex those muscles to woo women, I think even it's the woman's right to do the same. But that is nowhere an invitation to come and molest me. I mean, fine, like what she said. There's a difference between, eve-teasing is a wrong connotation. It's what we call euphemism. Because eve-teasing means that there is a hint of, that woman is, it is implied that she's trying to attract attention. It's like those 90s Bollywood songs, Sunil Shetty songs, Kya baja, kya daake jalve tere maro, it's something like that. But that does not mean you come and harass me. So that is what I wanted to say.